Good morning, I'm Dr. Suraiya Shahin and today I will teach you the Renaissance period. The Renaissance period is the most remarkable and groundbreaking period in the history of English literature that spanned from the 14th century to the 17th century. If I talk about the meaning of Renaissance, it means revival or rebirth of Greek learning, literature, art, and culture of the Middle Ages in Europe. In England, it came through Italy and flourished in the Elizabethan age, which we usually find in the remarkable works of Shakespeare, Spenser, Marlowe, and Ben Jonson. Now the question is, why Italy became the center of the classical Greek art and literature? The reason is that in the middle of the 15th century, when the Turks invaded and conquered most part of the Greek Empire, as a result of it, the great Greek philosophers, scholars, and artists started fleeing from Greece and got shelter in Italy. And in this way, gradually, Italy became the center of Greek art, literature, and painting. And in the course of time, the Greek and Italian art and literature reached England through France and very soon found England a very favorable country for their growth and advancement. Now, in England, writers and scholars started following Greek and Italian scholars. Now I talk about the changes that took place in the Renaissance period. And the first is a new approach to knowledge. The Renaissance awakened the minds of the people. The old traditions and conventions were replaced by a deep quest for knowledge. Writers began to take licenses not only with what they wrote but how they wrote it. This resulted in flexibility and fluidity, syntax and the old grammar which emerged in the new kind of language. Next is classical influence. During the Renaissance period in England, writers and scholars started following classical Greek and Italian scholars. They revived the Greek art and literature because it was the revival of Greek art and literature. English dramatists, poets, and scholars became crazy about Greek models. If you see Christopher Marlowe's plays, Shakespeare's tragedies, Spenser's fairy queen, Sidney's Arcadia, Ben Jonson's comedies, Francis Bacon's essays, they all are directly or indirectly based on the Greek classical models. They proudly imitated the classical models. They took models from the ancients and then produced their own original works, which became the glory of English literature. The age of Shakespeare was fertile, mainly due to the influence of Renaissance. We find classical mythology, fine arts, and music all flourished in this era. Shakespeare freely borrowed from the classical sources which are full of classical mythology and lore. Next is scientific revolution. The scientific revolution fundamentally changed human understanding and perception with the world. That led major discoveries, developments, and relationships that shaped this transformative period. One of the most influential was Francis Bacon, who was an English scientist and philosopher who argued that true knowledge could be obtained through empirical investigation. Another important French philosopher was René Descartes, whose famous statement, cogito ergo sum, highlights the importance of rational thought in knowledge pursuit. The Renaissance period, no doubt, was an age of new discoveries and exploration. We find Newton's law of universal gravitation, which explains celestial forces. In physics, Galileo's experiments debunked Aristotle's theories. Next point is age of patriotism. We find the Renaissance period as an age of intense patriotism, when people took interest in England's past and pride in its great heritage. They expressed their hatred towards its enemies. After the defeat of the Spanish Armada, Britain had gained strength and confidence and aimed to establish superiority amidst other nations. In this era, people mainly glorified the English royalty and they made historical plays popular. Next is conflict between science and religion. In this era, the scientific revolution challenged people's religious beliefs and authorities, which gave rise to the conflicts between scientists and religious institutions. For example, the Catholic Church condemned Galileo for his support for the heliocentric model, as it contradicted the Church's teachings on the structure of the universe. On the other hand, many scientists during the Renaissance period were deeply religious and expressed their works which appreciated God's creation. Directly or indirectly, they appreciated religious institutions. The Renaissance scientific revolution transformed our understanding of the natural world, paving the way for future scientific and technological advancements. In this way, science, religion, and interplay laid the foundation for the modern era. Next is belief in worldliness. Apart from classical influence, the Renaissance believed in otherworldliness. It also believed in life after death. Materialism was its prime purpose. It believed in beauty and enriched life. We find giving importance to beauty and real life in all Renaissance writers, especially Shakespeare, whose plays reflected the ongoing scenario of the royal society. In this era, money was spent abundantly on fashion and clothes. Men and women both paid much attention to make the body beautiful. Next point is belief in supernatural power. Despite the quest for learning and reviving the art and literature, this era is also marked by hope as well as despair. Since this era was the age of transition, much of barbarity of the medieval ages still existed in this period. This era saw people's belief in superstition and ignorance despite the spread of science and learning. No doubt, people believed in the supernatural world, witchcraft, black magic, and omens. We see this supernatural world like black magic and witchcraft amply in Shakespeare's plays like Macbeth, Hamlet, Julius Caesar, etc. Next is rise of drama. And this is very important point in the Renaissance period. There was no drama in England before the Norman conquest. The earlier plays were performed in the church and were based on its rituals. English drama was primarily influenced by the native tradition, the Latin and Italian drama. The mystery, miracle, and morality are found in almost every Elizabethan play. Seneca was accepted as the model for tragedy, and Plautus and Terence supplied the suggestion for comedy. The first English comedy was Ralph Roister Doister. The first English comedy was Ralph Roister Doister, and that was written by Nicholas Udall. He followed the Latin model, writing in rhythmic couplets. The first English tragedy was Gorboduc. The first English tragedy was Gorboduc, written by Sackville and Norton in 1562, which used blank verse. It also followed Latin models. The Renaissance period produced the genius writers and dramatists like the group of the university wits and Shakespeare to grow and prosper. And the last is the rise of renowned writers. In the Renaissance period, we find the outstanding dramatists like Christopher Marlowe, who paved the way for the literary genius of Shakespeare. Marlowe's dramatic style and themes influenced greatly Shakespeare, which he followed in his plays. Here we find the greatness of Shakespeare, whose plays and sonnets brought great impact on English literature. Shakespeare's plays, especially his tragedies Macbeth, Hamlet, Othello, and King Lear, brought significant changes in the world of English literature. We have other renowned writers like Edmund Spenser, Thomas White, Henry Howard, Nicholas Wooden, Norton Sackville, and others. Thank you.